And now we come to the great beard debate. Okay. Y'all, I just don't get the things that Harry says. I mean, you can just, it's like, if he hadn't told us he was on drugs, we would have all come to the conclusion on our own. So he wanted to wear his beard for his wedding. Okay. And he's also going to be wearing a military uniform. Well, never the twain shall meet. According to British tradition, and American also, you can't have a beard in uniform. Now, I don't know if this is true for the Brits, but I think it is. You can have a mustache, but you cannot have the full beard. So he wants the full beard. And for very personal and specific reasons, he says, I know it was illogical, but I needed the beard because it helped me cope with my anxiety. I'd grown the beard during my voyage to the South Pole, and I kept it after returning home, and it helped me, along with therapy and meditation and a few other things, drugs, to quell my nerves. I can't explain it, but I did find some articles describing the phenomenon. Maybe it was Freudian, beard as a security blanket. And maybe it was Jungian, beard as a mask. But whatever it was, it made me calmer. And I wanted to feel as calm as possible on the day of my wedding, so I wasn't about to shave the beard. I don't feel like he knows who Jung or Freud are, but I'm just going to keep that to myself. Anyway, he says that the other thing was Meghan had never seen it without the beard, so he didn't want her to walk down the aisle to a perfect stranger. And also, she loved to grab onto it and pull him in for a kiss, and so it's just like, you couldn't get rid of that. How was she going to kiss him if she couldn't jerk his facial hair towards her? He says he went and explained it to Granny, and she understood perfectly. She said that her own husband liked to rock a bit of a scruff now and then, and she said, you can have the beard, it's not that big of a deal. But when he went and told William about it, William bristled. And he was outraged that Harry would even consider it, and moreover, that he would have asked Granny about it. He says that William said, it can't be done. I mean, that military rules and so forth. You can't have the beard. Stop trying to push the rules. This is the rule. This is the road. Walk ye in it. Okay? There's rules for a reason, Harold. And Harry's like, William, what are you talking about, though? Because I can Google search and I have images to prove that there's a lot of different monarchs who wore a suit and had a beard. And he shares many examples. William would have none of it. And when he found out that Harry had gone and spoken to Granny about it and gotten the green light, that made him angrier all the more. You went to ask her? Well, yeah. Well, what did Granny say? Well, she said keep the beard. You put her in the uncomfortable position, Harold. She had no choice but to say yes. No choice? Oh, well, she's the queen. If she didn't want me to have a beard, I think she can speak for herself. But Willie always thought Granny had a soft spot for me, that she indulged me while holding him to an impossibly high standard. And because, he was the heir and I was the spare, and it irked him a good bit. So the argument, according to Harry, goes on and on and on. It goes on in person. It goes on over the phone. It goes on over text. William can't get over it. He says at one point, William actually ordered him to shave the beard. I'm the heir. Speaking to the spare, you better get rid of that beard. Are you serious? I'm telling you, shave it off. For the love of God, Willie, what does it matter to you so much about the beard? Get off my back. Because I wasn't allowed to keep my beard. Now, this is the conversation according to Harry. Okay. And there it was. After he'd come back from an assignment with Special Forces, Willie was sporting a full beard, and somebody told him to be a good boy, run along, shave it off. He hated the idea of me enjoying a perk that he'd been denied. And also, says Harry, I suspected that it brought back bad memories of being told he couldn't marry in the uniform of his choice. And then he confirmed my suspicion. He said it outright. In one of our beard debates, he complained bitterly about my being allowed to marry in my household cavalry frock coat, which he'd wanted to wear at his wedding. Remember that whole story? Remember how he says that, you know, William had woken from a drunken stupor the day of his wedding, and he had found himself in this stupor because he had been so outraged, humiliated, horrified, distraught that he couldn't wear the military uniform of his choosing. Okay. So some more on that. We're getting more of that flavor here. And what's crazy is that at the time that we were when we were reading about William's wedding, Harry had said, I did think it was outrageous he couldn't wear what he wanted. I mean, that's not fair at all. And I could see why he was upset. And this was ridiculous. But now he's saying to William, you're being ridiculous. You're being crazy. It's not a big deal if I get to wear what I want to wear and you didn't get to wear what you wanted to wear. Get over it. And would Harry have been able to get over it if William had been given a right that he was now being denied? Now, first of all, I don't even think William was upset about it, but say like he was. You can't see, and in the wildest realms of your imagination, you can't understand how it is that Harry would be or that William would be annoyed that you get to do something and he's constantly being told, no, 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 William, this is the standard. You have to walk the standard. Your brother, that wild, crazy thing, who cares what he's up to? Let him do whatever he wants. You can't imagine that would get to be a little bit wearing. Okay. Anyway, you know, Harry has that newfound backbone that he got from therapy, and he tells Willie that his bearded brother is going to get married soon. And you can either get on board or not. But this is what's happening. You either stand behind me or you might as well just get out of the way. So now it's time for him to have his bachelor party. He says it was a great event. They had a good time. But he wasn't 100% at his ease because Willie told him, look, you get too drunk, you pass out, I'm shaving that beard. Okay? I'm after that beard tonight. So mind your P's and Q's, because this mess on your face, we're getting rid of that. He says that despite having to sort of keep an eye on Willie the whole time, he did have a good time. He said that the stag party was at a friend's house, and it was basically a great big boys party. There was his brother, and then he had 15 friends there. There was these, you know, the indoor tennis court at this guy's house had been kitted out with various fun toys. There's giant boxing gloves, there's bows and arrows, there's a mechanical bull. They painted their faces and roughhoused like idiots. It was all just great fun. Right up his alley, really. He says after an hour or two, he was exhausted, he was hungry, they ate lunch. He said they had a big picnic in a large airy barn, and then they trooped off to a makeshift shooting range. He says they were all drunk as skunks, but, you know, it's a wonder that nobody shot each other. They all had weapons, but somehow nobody got hurt. And then he had the brilliant idea. He says, when everyone was bored of firing rifles, they dressed me up as a giant yellow-feathered chicken, and they sent me down range to shoot fireworks at me. Wild. Oh, I mean, okay, fine. I admitted it was actually my idea, but, I mean, whatever. I offered to do it. Whoever comes closest wins. And he says it made him think about all those times when he and Willie and Hugh and Emily's boys had spent all those afternoons trying to kill each other. Remember that boy who fell down the well and they threw a bunch of fireworks down at him? Good times. And he just wondered, you know, what had happened to the closeness of those days back when he and Willie had been such good friends? What you talking about, Harry? Because back when you were telling us that story, you were telling about how you'd had to defend William because, you know, he was just a weakling and he couldn't defend himself and he resented you even then. What are you talking about, Harry? You think I don't remember? I remember. Do you not remember? He was your enemy even then. So why are you acting now? I mean, according to you, he was your enemy then. So why are you acting now like, oh, it's just wild. It's just wild how our relationship has taken this sudden turn.